Hi class, welcome to Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is going to focus a lot on algebra. So we're going to start with the basics, which is going to be order of operations. Hopefully you've been exposed to order of operations in a previous course, but if not, we'll go through it real quick. A couple things you need to understand are just some basic definitions. One basic definition they're going to use is the word algebra. Don't let that panic you. That just means they're going to represent unknowns with letters, knowns with numbers. Okay, another word for unknown would be a variable. So if there's a value that you do not know, typically they will represent that with a letter. Constants are values that you do know. So constants often look like plain old numbers like 2 and 6 or 1/3. Okay, those would represent constants. An algebraic expression is just a collection of variables, numbers, parentheses, and operational symbols. So an example of a variable expression could just be the expression x. That's a variable expression. X plus 2, variable expression. You could get more complicated. 3 times the quantity 2x plus 3, variable expression, and so on. Notice that there's no equal signs, just a statement with letters and numbers. An algebraic equation is going to join two algebraic expressions together with an equal sign. So a really basic equation could be something like x plus 2 equals 4. So notice that you do have an equal sign, you have an expression on the left-hand side, you have an expression on the right-hand side. We're going to start simplifying these expressions, and one thing they're going to ask you in this first section of homework is whether or not a number is a solution or not. Well, in order to test whether a number is a solution, you go to the algebraic equation, replace all of the variables with the number that they've specified, simplify it as much as you can, and if the right-hand side and the left-hand side end up equaling, then you have indeed found the solution. So often you'll be asked to check whether a number is a solution. So for example, let's say we have the equation x plus 3 equals 4, and they ask you, is x equal 1 a solution? So all you'd have to do is where the letter is located, replace that letter with the value that they've asked you about, the 1, and then double check, is 1 plus 3 equal to 4? 4 does indeed equal 4, so you have checked that 1 is indeed a solution. Some of the expressions that you're dealing with will have exponential expressions in them. So an example would be like 5 to the second power. If you see something like that, 2 is going to be considered the exponent, 5 is going to be considered the base, and that means to take the base to the nth power n times. And the book has an improper notation here, so that should be b to the n. Okay, so if you see something like that, that just means to repeat multiplication with the base however many times the exponent tells you to. Okay, so one thing you will have to do when you are asked to simplify an expression is you're going to have to perform the order of operations. Some of you may have learned this back in the day as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or some of you may have learned it as PEMDAS. While that is really good way to learn things, it's very general and it can be a little confusing because if you look at PEMDAS, it looks like there's actually 6 steps, but there are only 4 steps to order of operations. The first step, if you learn PEMDAS, is parentheses. Now, that's very specific. There's other things besides parentheses you have to worry about. You have to worry about all the grouping symbols. Okay, so that could be parentheses, it could be brackets, absolute values are considered grouping symbols. If you have a fraction, the numerator and the denominator are each considered a group. So your first step is to simplify all groups, however they have the groups organized. Your second step is to simplify exponentials, okay? So if you see any exponents in the problem, if you see any square roots also in the problem, those would need to get simplified in this stage. Next is multiplication and division. Now, if you look at PEMDAS, PEMDAS has the M before the D, so you think that multiplication always comes before division. That is not true. You read your expression from left to right. Whichever one comes first or closest to the left gets performed first. So multiplication and division can switch orders. You do it from left to right, just like you would read a book. And the last step is addition and subtraction. Again, that is performed from left to right. Addition does not always have to come before subtraction. So whichever one appears on the most left-hand side gets completed first. So I have an example here for you. Okay, so this first one is just evaluating an expression. So they've given you the expression negative x squared plus 4x plus 16, and they would like you to evaluate it for the value x equals 3. Okay, all that I like to call evaluating plug and chug. Okay, and what I mean by that, you're just going to go to your expression, and anywhere you see an x, I want you to leave a blank space. So negative blank squared plus 4 blank plus 16. Okay, and then now that you have your blank spaces, whichever letter or number that they have given you, they said in this problem that x equals 3, I want you to go through and put that in for all of the blank spaces, or where the x's were. Okay, so first things first, we would simplify any groups. So groups can be represented by parentheses. So I know I have some parentheses here, but technically those aren't groups because you don't have multiple items inside of the parentheses. So step 1 is done. All my groups are simplified. Now I need to simplify exponents. So I do have an exponent. I have 3 to the second power. That is not 6. It's 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, my second stage is my multiplication division stage, my third stage. So if there's anything that needs simplified with multiplication or division, you should do that now. And I've got a 4 times a 3, so that will equal a 12 when I multiply those out. And then last is your addition subtraction stage. So remember, go from left to right. So take your negative 9 plus 12 first. Negative 9 plus 12 is 3. Then your 3 plus 16 last, and 3 plus 16 is 19. So you have evaluated and simplified the expression. Okay, sometimes they'll give you problems in story problem format. Try not to let the story problems scare you. Usually it's just a matter of plugging the number in and simplifying it out. Okay, so let's read this one. A diver jumps from a platform diving board that is 32 feet above water. The height of the diver above water in feet, t seconds after jumping from the platform, can be determined by this expression, negative 16 t squared plus 20t plus 32. Determine the diver's height above the water 2 seconds after jumping from the platform. Okay, so they gave you this scenario in terms of time. I'm going to bump this out of here. Okay, so since this scenario is in terms of time, then when they told you the t equals 2 seconds, you are going to have to consider that as your t value. Okay, so I'm going to try and erase this little t squared. It won't let me though. Okay, wonder if it'll let me move it. Get out of here, t squared. Okay, so let's go back to the equation. The equation was negative 16 t squared plus 20t plus 32. So notice really the story problem didn't even matter. You just needed the equation, and you need to know that you are focusing on 2 seconds. So anywhere you see a t, you are going to replace the t with 2 seconds. And then you're going to follow your order of operations. All of your groups have been simplified. Simplify your exponentials next. So I have a 2 squared that needs to be simplified. Complete any multiplication and division after that. So I have a negative 64 or negative 16 times 4, which is a negative 64. I have a 20 times 2, which is a 40. And then complete addition and subtraction from left to right. So from left to right, I have negative 64 plus 40, that's negative 24. And then negative 24 plus 32 would be positive 8. Don't be afraid to use your calculators to deal with the negative numbers, okay? All right, let's try this example. Evaluate negative 3x squared plus 2xy minus 2y squared. Sorry, that notation got messed up on you. We'll change that to a squared. Sometimes PowerPoints get messed up. When x equals 2 and y equals 3. Okay, so this time you have two variables. No big deal. They've given you an x value. They've given you a y value to substitute in. So we have negative 3x squared. Our x value is 2. Plus 2xy. Again, our x value is 2 and our y value is 3. Minus 2y squared. And our y value is 3. Okay, so we've evaluated, we've plugged all the numbers in. Now we're going to simplify our exponents. We've got 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. We've got 3 squared, and 3 squared is 9. We're going to complete our multiplication and division. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. 2 times 2 is 4. And 4 plus 3 is 12. And 2 times 9 is 18. Okay, and then last, you are going to complete your addition and subtraction from left to right. Negative 12 and positive 12 added together is 0. And 0 minus 18 is negative 18. So you have evaluated and simplified. Last example for today. Determine whether 2 is a solution of the equation 3x squared plus 7x minus 11 equals 15. Okay, so remember, if you want to decide if it's a solution or not, just take your equation and anywhere that you see an x in your equation, you're going to replace that x with the number they gave you. In this problem, they gave us the number 2. So this is going to read 3x squared, 3 times 2 squared, plus 7 times 2 minus 11 equals 15. So if I simplify that, I'm going to do my exponents first, which is my 2 squared. 2 times 2 is 4. Then I'm going to do multiplication and division. 3 times 4 is 12. 7 times 2 is 14. And then I'll do my addition and subtraction. 12 plus 4 is 26. 26 minus 11 is 15. We received 15 on the left side. We wanted 15 on that side. We are indeed a solution. 2 is a good value for this problem. Okay, guys, you should go ahead and get started on 6.1. Please let me know if you have any questions.